Recording in.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. Tonight's special guest that we have with us is Nicole Wirth. She has spoken with us for many, many years, and I've had the pleasure of working with her well over 10. Yeah. So she has a really great presentation tonight on lymphatic work, but the holistical impact of breast health, which is very important because this month is breast cancer awareness and we need to stay healthy and happy. So without further ado, let's give it up for Nicole.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to be here. I always like to know why other people are here. So even online, if you're online, if you can participate, I love questions. I am a massage therapist and I've been doing lymph since 2000. I'm usually in my little room with one-on-one with people, and so I really like to usually pretty customized work. So I'm so excited that we're going to do a demo later, because that's really probably my specialty is assessing people's lymphatic system, seeing where the block of flow is, what emotions are involved, and what organs are involved. So and how to release them and giving exercises to help them work their own energy. So it's a little bit about me, and we're going to do some exercises today. Sometimes I like to give a little outline. So if you have any questions for me, I kind of glossed over my history really quickly, but I would like to find out why people are here, go over a couple exercises. I think we're going to do 2 or 3 of them. I'm going to do a live demo for one person, and yeah, and one's a community one, so we're going to pair off. Hopefully you'll pair off with your spouse or whoever you're with at home. So why are you here? I believe in intention. I believe in setting intentions and finding out what people decided to come on. I guess today's Tuesday. Decided to come on a Tuesday and spend an hour with me on the lymphatic system, and kind of with an emphasis around breast health. We're going to cover a little bit of that, but it is just so important to know that lymphatic work is a whole body system. So we're going to cover that. So if you can, the people that are here and online, if you can popcorn in kind of what you're kind of hoping to get out of today, or what kind of interests you about this topic, or me specifically, if you went to my website, looked at a couple of things.
Yeah, I'm interested in like the lymphatic system and how massages can help promote healthy drainage and whatnot.
And so as people comment, I hope it's okay, I'm going to comment back a little bit. It's not going to be fully covered in the lecture. That I think this happens a lot where people talk about massage, and especially since Instagram, there's a lot of people coming into my office where they're saying, yeah, I'm doing like this technique with this stone or different things, right? And I'm noticing that I'm having some lumps or different things going on, and so I knew I needed to come and see like a professional with them. And I think it's because there's a real big difference between working on, and we're going to go over a couple of lymphatic points that help the brain actually stimulate the lymph to move, but it's not actually moving the lymph. So we can run into a lot of issues or problems with that, even if we don't feel something initially, it can end up being an issue. But then also people don't realize that when they go and get a massage, right, where the body is, the muscles are being manipulated, they don't understand that actually the lymphatic system stops moving when they do that. So if that massage therapist has a certain training or goal in mind that doesn't address the lymphatic system, it could cause like a lymphatic issue with the body. So lymphatic work is so light, and it will address muscles. It'll actually cause muscles to relax. It'll stimulate the brain. It drains all our organs. It's just really an important sort of underlooked system. But so a lot of times people will come into me saying they want a lymph massage, and I'm like, wait a minute, let's talk about this a little bit. So because education is really important to me, I feel like things are kind of regurgitated, and they're not lymphatic therapists that are talking about lymphatic systems. They're estheticians or something like that. So, so anyways, we're going to talk about some of those you're going to come away with some tools that stimulate your lymphatic system. Yeah, and I'll go over it again a little bit more. Anybody else? Great. Hopefully it's okay that I comment. That doesn't make you shy about telling me why you're here.
Although I think
Okay.
just overall interested in the
Uh-huh.
whole thing, especially when I was reading about the fact that it can impact like the ear sinus and drainage and such. And I think just, I know that there's so much that's interconnected with them, but just to learn more about that, it's.
Yeah, and so we're gonna talk just very briefly about it, so I'll cover a couple of things right now. So when we're talking about, like, I had a client, I love to tell stories because I feel like that drives home like the point, there's lots that you can take away from that too. And also to remind people that I'm in my practice, in my small private lymphatic practice, like every day, every other day, I'm working on real bodies and real situations with real histories that are all really unique. So there's a lot to that as opposed to studying it in a book, right? It's just so different. So I want to make sure I point that out. But I had a client, I guess it was like last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe. She came in and I could actually see that something was going on with her right eye. And so I told her that and I gave her a couple exercises to work on her with her own energy. And it's hard to say, I'll explain a little bit as we go along when I do the demo, how I'm able to see different things. Because it's definitely been a skill like acquired over a long time. But after that appointment, I just knew I needed to check her right breast. So when I went there, I could actually feel that a rib was out of place. And so I was able to help her rib get back into place. So there are different like sections in the body that will correspond to other ones. So a couple easy ones to tell people would be if we have that it's usually like, will be like so like is like. So when we look at the eyes and we can see that they are similar to breast, we have two of them, then we can also say that they're similar to ovaries, and we can make correlations to the malleolate bone. So what? To the malleolate bone, our ankle bone. And so those are just a couple. There are, and what we call this is a reflexology. So it's a multi-layered reflexology technique to diagnose, or I guess I should say prognose, ways to look and move energy or work with that person's body. But what's really intricately interwoven with all of that is the brain. So how something is stored is a whole nother topic we're going to touch on a little bit in this lecture today. How something is stored and why that's important, and how that'll show up in the session. So in a very intricate way. So with that client, I think it was the next week I saw her, and she said that after her session, her inside ankle bothered her a little bit, but then it went away about 8 to 12 hours later. It takes about 3 to 4 hours to process the lymphatic fluid. So if we remove a memory or we release something and the body gets rid of some kind of waste, that'll be 3 to 4 hours that it will take to process through the lymphatic system, and then about 30 hours out of the sling. So I was like, oh, did it go away? So we said 8 to 12, and she's like, yeah, 8 to 12, and then it was fine. And you go, wasn't it the time before last that we were talking about your eye? And she goes, yeah, it was. And I was like, oh, that relates to the eye. So it's just like moving out of her body. Yeah, it's so interesting to find these little intricacies. But so those are a couple that are really obvious. Sometimes I see a lot in my practice. People do computer work and they're doing a lot of this. They'll end up having neck issues, and it's not so they can massage the neck all they want, but actually we need to address the like areas where the other neurological areas are, and that is wrists. Yeah. So it'll be stored differently in the body depending on how that person handles the job or whatever they're doing. Yeah. So I love the comments. Yeah, hopefully that addresses a couple things right away. Okay. Anybody else? I love to hear what people are interested in, so I can try to tailor the lecture to it. But anybody else before I go on? Okay, so it looks good. No problem. So we're going to cover today my favorite board. So it's been a little while since I've covered this in some of my lectures, so I want to make sure I cover body work. I just talked to a massage therapist yesterday morning, and I don't know if you need to move the phones, I'm visible, but I just talked to her, and she's been doing massage for 15 years and doesn't realize some of these body working beliefs. So I was like, I should pull this back in again and cover it again, because I see it true every single day in my practice. So, so basically body working beliefs, some that I've acquired over a long time, are that our body, and I probably shouldn't use a pen, sorry, let's see, we'll do blue. And this is just to keep me on track, so it's okay if you can't see it necessarily, maybe online you can see it better. But our body stores, what do you think our body stores? What'd you say? Stress, definitely, you got it. Everything. So if you've ever been in an injury and even unconscious or something, your body is still taking in data, even though your brain just said, this is too stressful, let's just check out. So it is still in there. In fact, in our body, we have about actually, let me back up. The body working image I love to use is a library of old books, and you know, the ladder that you might hop on and then slide along, if you can kind of get that image. Well, all those books our subconscious plays with at night when we sleep. And at night when we're sleeping, that's when we're working with our own energy. So it pulls a book down and it flips through the stories, right? And it puts that back, pulls another one down, looks at all the chapters. It just plays with that information all night. And it says, I like this, I don't like that. Let's do it different the next day. Super important to be sleeping so that our body can actually upgrade our life every night that we're sleeping and working with our own energy. Super important. But each one of the books represent every cell in our body, and each cell holds about 6 gigabytes of information. So that's more than a smartphone. That's every single cell. It's a lot of data. So some of it is junk data, right? Stuff we don't even ascribe to or believe in, but it's something that happened to us and we take it in. So if you can imagine, if something traumatic kind of happens, we only can take the high points from that experience and say, oh, I want to make sure I'm safe in the car, I'll wear my seatbelt next time or whatever, right? We're not going to remember that our head moved forward and slightly hit, or whatever. We're not going to remember all these details. We're not going to remember what we were thinking at the moment. And that thought process will get trapped in that muscle or ligament too. So it stores everything. So I kind of like that, because what it does is it actually pulls it out in the way that's really connected to clearing something all the way to the beginning. So it does it perfectly, removes it perfectly. Our part though is really just to show up. So there's not a lot of I know people will say, oh, I've been dealing with this for so long, why isn't this just gone, So again, remember I said finding where we need to work first. There's a certain order to releasing things, super important. So somebody maybe might not be paying attention to something, and that's why you're going in a cycle too. But we need to show up. We actually just need to show up and surrender to the process that our body has this perfect way that it's going to do something, and we don't have to force it. So we just want to acknowledge what has happened, what we feel in this session. Sometimes this will happen, clients will tell me, I just feel a little bit sad all of a sudden. What also has happened this last week a lot is I'll be working on somebody and they'll go, oh, that kind of tickles a little bit, or I'll feel them tense a little bit and I'll go, oh, does that tickle? And they're like, yeah, it's okay, but it does. And I go, oh, that's the emotion to laugh. So go ahead and laugh a little bit. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, just think of a joke, just laugh. And as they're laughing, all the muscles let go. So listening to the body is really, it does things perfectly. All we have to do is just show up, right? So healing requires a witness. So if we've ever been anywhere and we tell one person that private thing that happened to us that was pretty devastating, and we might cry a little bit, but we can get through the story. But the more we tell the story, the more our brain plays with that information, the more we can make sense of it and let it go. So if we're holding it in, this is not very good. But also when we talk to people, if you've ever had the experience, I know I have, where I've experienced something and I think, okay, I'm over it. I don't feel emotion about it. I'm just recounting the story. But then I stood up in front of a room of people and I told my testimony or something. And I'm like, oh, and I'm crying or I'm shaking, which is also emotion. There's lots of ways that our body will release emotion. It's not just crying. So like I was just saying about laughing. But so we need people's energy, care, and compassion, and we need to make sure that if we're not having somebody else that's loving and caring about whatever has happened to us, that we find somebody that loves compassion and helps us accept it, right? So that, because it's valid. Usually it's valid, right? However we're feeling, that person wasn't very nice, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's just really handy to actually have that other person witness it in front of you, like you letting it go. And then also you'll remember more and more stories. Like I think I said that earlier. When you're telling the story, you'll be like, yeah, and then like, I got really sick and threw up, and then I went for chicken nuggets. I'm remembering a specific story from a client. And it's like, that's what he remembered, you know what I mean? It all was in that fiber in his body. Okay, so, the body, so what do you think the body is? A lot of times people will come to me and they say, my bum left shoulder, it's all screwed up. Oh, it's just such an annoying thing. My bum knee, it just can't do anything right. Blah, blah, blah. They talk about their body in that way, and that is a disassociation that's happening that probably served them for a little while, but it's not serving them in the healing process. It's actually really important to recognize that you have two knees and that you need to walk wherever you go, and that you have two shoulders, and that it's sort of like, I always think of our bodies as body parts as like kids in a car. It's like whoever's like the loudest is probably not the instigator of everything going on in the car. It's probably the quiet one in the corner. And that's the moving piece. That's the area that's stuck. So it's really important that we look at what's going on in the body and that it's actually powerful. But it has limits. So I see this a lot. I just saw this week in my practice. A gal come in and she said, I just really haven't been coming in for sessions and I really have been needing them. And I could see like actually like what's the word, like kind of a gray color like come around her eyes as she was talking about how she needed to come in and she hadn't been coming in, and then she would make a point of saying, yeah, next week I'm going to call and I'm going to come in. But I didn't, and I could just see like her making deals with her body that she's going to take care of herself at such and such date, and then she doesn't. That's worse than just saying, okay, I'm going to work for 4 months, I'm going to work really hard, I'm going to save up money, I'm going to pay off my debt, and then I'm going to go on this trip to Hawaii, or I'm going to do whatever, right? Our body goes, okay, that works for us. We're going to like work really hard with you, but then if you don't do it, you're setting up a bad relationship with your body, right? And your body's gonna feel that. And so it has limits. So there are some boundaries that we need to sort of have with our own body or with other people. It just so that we can actually be healthy in ourselves. So this one's a big topic. I tried to cover it really quickly, but it is powerful, super powerful. We just need to access information in the body that's maybe trapped, or we just need to like reorient some energy, get rid of some things, right? And then it's gonna like work with you and it's gonna overcome it. I'm actually working with a client right now who's had cancer. She wasn't per se given so many months that she was gonna live, but pretty much was told in direct ways that she had 2 months to live. And we're 1.5 years into it, and they are now noticing her 39 tumors down to 16, that they can't find cancer in there anymore. I mean, it's such an exciting thing for somebody to say, okay, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves, I'm gonna do some of these interesting things that you're reading in my body that we need to do, and it's just really eye-opening for her. So yeah, it's very powerful. We just need to give it certain tools, and then it just has limits. So this is my website. I'm offering a special. It's usually $175 for each one. It's $146 for 2 because my specialty is assessing. So I'm going to do one session. It's going to be a baseline. The second one is going to tell me what are the pieces involved. So a first appointment can look like, I feel like this person has liver, they have father issues, they have high blood pressure, they're underappreciated, maybe they're the first of the family took care of a lot of things. Second appointment, I'm like, no, actually it's not liver. They allowed somebody into their heart and they were really hurt by something. And that heart is making up for a lot of that, and it's showing up in the liver. So it's interesting always to uncover some of that, because some of that was buried by that disassociation that I was talking about earlier, right? They weren't aware in that moment, right? So many things happen so fast, they just weren't able to like connect the dots for themselves. So, so 2 is really the key thing. Okay, so any questions so far? I like questions. Any questions so far? Or anything that was like an aha that you're like, You're speaking to me. That makes sense. Or that is weird. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's okay too. Anybody? I know my husband's laughing in the back of the room because he knows I'm like that. Okay, so that's okay. I like for participation. You're gonna get more out of it if you do participate a little bit and let me know what's going on. Because otherwise, I can't really, I really work better with customization. Yeah, it's so specific to the person. So we're gonna do a giving exercise. I hope everybody will participate. I think it was in my 20s when I did this the first time and it was really life-changing for me. So it's been a while since I've done this in a lecture, but we're gonna grab some pieces of paper and on the front of the paper, we're gonna, what I want you to write on the front of the paper is how you give to others. How are you giving to other people? What do you do? How do you fill your day where you do things for other people? How are we giving?
Should I write out the question or should I just write?
You can write out giving. And then answer that with some things that you do in your day. Okay, we're just gonna go for 3 more seconds. How do you give in relationships? What are you doing? What does that look like in your day that you're doing? Now flip it over and you can fill this in later more too if you want. But go ahead and flip it over and on the other side, write down how you receive things from other people. Who is giving things to you that you receive? Okay, so if one side was just easier, like came easier to you to like write out, maybe it was, and maybe someone might want to comment, what side was easier for you to write out? Yeah.
How I receive things from others.
Okay, yeah, and so when we're receiving, it's important to recognize that energy will flow if we give, and we'll actually receive more if we give, right? And so the same thing for the other one, which is really, I'm really glad you went first, because I would say most people give a lot, right? And I think that I've come across that more. And so I think that's so great. Yeah, it just adds a really good dimension to our lecture tonight. Yeah. Yeah, and this will show up in the eyes. So if you wanted to look really closely at your eyes at a mirror, look really closely, you'll see one is just a little bit more vibrant than the other one. And that is also an indication if you're a giver or a receiver. You'll be more one than another, but you want to actually find more of a balance with giving and receiving, because it will actually, things will flow better into your life and things will also flow out of your life much better too. So I love this exercise. It was really life-changing. You're gonna comment? Oh, so it was life-changing for me because I remember like, yeah, I give all the time and I like wrote out the whole page and stuff. And then I was like, on the second page. So, so nobody was exactly like that. I think it's so great that we're in a more evolved setting than I was. So But do that, keep thinking, I think it's a good checkpoint every once in a while, I will do that, I'll pull out a piece of paper, how am I giving to other people and serving other people, and who am I asking, am I delegating, how am I doing on the receiving end? This is really true in immune health, I'll see that out of balance. So let's activate some lymph, we're gonna do one where it's self, and I'm gonna go over that, maybe you might not be able to see it, that's okay, it's just to keep me on track. But because I think as a body worker, I'm following energy, and so I'm never A to B, so it's hard to do A to B lectures, but so I just appreciate all you guys. But so what you're gonna do is you're actually gonna stimulate here, and I'm gonna show you multiple ways to stimulate these. Please do the points, it'll actually help our sessions, because you'll actually feel more grounded, more in your body. You'll have at least an experience at the end of it where you can say if it felt like it made a difference. So you'll tap here at the cheekbones, and then if it's okay, I'm gonna go around and demo what that is really quick so that everybody's kind of doing it, and tell me if you don't want me to touch you, but you're gonna be like that. You kind of feel that? It's much stronger, right, than maybe you were to. You're gonna be right there. Think of fishing on a point all the way in. Think point all the way in. Is it okay to demo on you? Yeah. Okay, so I'll have you remove your glasses. If you don't mind. And can you pull your mask down just a little bit? Yep. Right. Might be a little tender. If it's tender, it means you need to do it. Yeah. So you were doing it earlier, weren't you? A little bit. Right? Yeah.
I didn't realize
How much pressure to use.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, and it will be a little tender, and if it's tender, it's needed. Now, all of these are gonna, points that I'm gonna give you, the collarbones, sternum, below nips, and we're gonna do a certain one for breast health. And then we're gonna do lateral to the last point. All of these are lymphatic neurological points. So they are telling the brain, lymph is moving in that area. Let's get things moving in that area. It's gonna move energy, open up meridian lines. Each one does something slightly different. So just know that it's helping with your immune system and energy levels. And what is really important is that you do it morning and night. So you can do it in the morning, wake up, you'll actually feel more present. It's like caffeine without caffeine, right? And then you'll go through the next ones, which is the collarbone. And you could also do them at night. I guess I have to be careful of that. And then if you do one hand, which sometimes I favor to do one hand, you'll always do the other hand because we're talking about polarity. So just like we were talking about giving, will open us up to receive more. And if we receive from other people, will actually should open us up to give more. So yeah, so you want to do that polarity. You want to do one hand where you feel more focused, and then do the other one if you feel inclined to do that.
So are you just kind of rubbing?
Yes, then I can demo this one too. And so you're gonna find the midline and come out, and it's right there. Now you can come all the way out. It's just gonna do different. Are you okay? Just you're gonna dim
It tickles, we'll see.
You're gonna do slightly different. Right there. Now is that too tender?
Oh, that feels good.
Yeah, yours is a little different. So have you had a night club? A night
Yeah,
club?
yeah,
That's what it feels like. So right here.
right there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can go out further than that. And you can go out further than that. So okay, that's done on you. So you go from the midline out, and then it's right there.
Thank you.
And you can again use one hand, and then do the other one. You could just rub if you wanted to. It's gonna feel better for you, whatever movement that you want to do. Right there. Just out from the midline. And so if it's really tender, it's needed, but we're not here to like hurt ourselves, right? So if it's like, wow, it's really tender, I can only do like 10 pushes, then only do 10 and then just do it more throughout the day. Because in the evening is a really good time to do all of these because it will actually get you ready for bed. So I asked her if it's okay to use yours as an example. Because I could feel actually she had indentations. So it was something that her meridian lines are actually flowing backwards because she's had nighttime jogs and which she affirmed, which isn't always the case. But I just worked on, I guess it was 3 weeks ago, I was working on a guy client who's getting ready for a surgery, and I wanted to do 4 lymphatic sessions to prep him for the surgery. And I think it was his second one, I was going over these points for him with a few more extra ones for him. And I could really feel it, like, wow, so solid, like really unaffected by the fact that I was moving this energy in his, and he'd had 2 appointments after his second one. So I was like, have you had a nighttime job like for a long time? And he goes, 17 years. So it is something that is where the body is up at night when it should be sleeping, right? It does something really beautiful. Remember, it's powerful, right? And it switches how the meridian lanes flow to give that person extra energy. The thing is we want to rebalance that, you know, in the morning before bed.
Yeah,
So
no
that's a really-
longer, I stopped working the night.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one might be more powerful to you, or you might do it, like you said, it's tender. You could, like for him, it wasn't tender at all. It didn't even feel like it was probably doing anything. And it's like, that one's the one I want you to do, because we need to stimulate that. But anyways, okay, so then that's collarbones. Then we would come down to the sternum. And I like to use my knuckles, but we can do the same thing that we've been doing. Something really fun I love to do for kids, so like 7 and under, is to do like a, you know, have fun doing a, like a gorilla. Yeah, really fun. They'll get into it. They love to do it, and they're gonna have more energy. And amazingly, they will actually be ready to go to bed too. So it's one of those ones that's really great. But you can use your knuckles. Just remember, if you use one hand, you always want to do the other one. I like to go clockwise. But what's really interesting is that we want to always pay attention to what feels sort of better in our body. Even though these might be tender, we still want to do them. So we can't get an out for that. I don't want to do it because it's too tender. We got to still do it. But if we have an affinity towards some kind of process of doing it or stimulating it, those are the things you want to listen to. Because there's something at play there. I have a client that came in who has cancer. She's was given 6 months to live, and we were going over these exercises for her. And she said that she felt like they were very tender, and I said, okay, break it up throughout the day, but keep doing them, do them every day, several times a day. I'll see you in 2 days. Then she came back and she said, and she actually speaks Spanish, so I was using my high school Spanish to talk with her. And so I was telling her, like, how is it going with these exercises? And she said, I'm very tired when I do them, but then it's a miracle afterwards. I actually can tell I have more energy. And it's like, yeah, because we're moving that energy through, and it's heavy energy. So it feels like she's tired while she's doing it. And there's an element happening there. So sternum, then we want to go below the nips, which is below the nipples, and we do that on the ribs. So if we have rather large breasts, sometimes it's good to lean back and lay down, or do these at night in bed, or in the morning in bed. But you would go right underneath there and rub.
So it's like right at like the
Right below the nipple and on the rib cage.
on the rib cage.
Yep. This one's can be quite tender, and if it's very tender, this one has to do with the liver. So it's a really good one for you know, traffic or anything where you think that liver might be stimulated. It's a good one. Now for the breast point, if you are worried about breast health, but you have healthy breast tissue, it might not be as tender, but most every time it'll be a little tender. It doesn't mean that there's something going on, okay? So what you'll do is you'll just kind of go to that point that we were just at, and you'll kind of push up underneath the breast, moving the breast up a little, and then you're gonna push down in. And it can be quite tender. And yeah.
Mine's more tender on my left.
Yeah, and that can happen too. Yeah, completely. So, and that one we're doing maybe all of these points, maybe 30 seconds, right? And we're 3 to 4 breaths, and we're feeling that movement of energy. So if, like I had a client in last week who has lymphedema, very thick, heavy energy, she needs to stimulate it longer to get that heavy energy to be able to feel it, right? So that one's a really good one for overall breast health. And then you'll go lateral to those points, and you're gonna go on this side. Yeah, I like to just rub my whole rib cage. It does a lot of different points, so that's me. But you're gonna rub in there and or tap. Yeah. And was that tender on anybody?
A little bit on my
Little
left.
Left side again?
Yeah,
Because the other one was left side, right?
yeah.
Interesting, right? So, so like earlier I was talking about how the shoulder is, you know, oh, my bum shoulder or my bum knee or whatever. That we want to go, isn't that interesting? Isn't that curious? Huh? You know, and kind of more of that energy and exploratory, interested in hearing from our body. So interesting, you know, and that kind of energy will lead to a better relationship. I always think of like having a relationship when you're kind of developing it. I always tell my clients the story of like, you know, I'm a big movie person. So you go to like pick a movie and you're like, yeah, we're gonna go see horror, you know, which is like not a movie I would see. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna go see a horror movie. And they're like, oh, okay. You know, and they might go along for the horror movie, but they're not gonna enjoy any of it. They probably won't even want to hang out with you again. So it's sort of like that when you're like, kind of like, oh, I can feel my knee really hurts, but like, I just wish it would stop so I can just continue my life the way that I'm doing it. And it's like, actually, like, there's probably a message in there somewhere and it'll make sense if we kind of go, that's so weird. I have to sit down, I guess. I don't know what's going on, you know, and we're kind of like curious about it. It's going to lead to other things. So, those are the points. Now the next one is more community. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we have, if Elizabeth doesn't mind participating. Oh yeah. Okay, then we'll be able to do the next one. Do you guys notice that you have a little bit more energy? Yeah, and then you got a little bit.
I haven't yawned.
Yeah, and you got a little bit more like present, or you were, you know, more hearing me, what I was saying.
It's funny because I noticed like
Uh-huh.
when I'm like if I have a long night drinking, I don't do it often, but I will automatically. I want to like
Oh,
rub like underneath
yes.
here.
Now you can just do it with more intention.
Yeah, because it's like it's for some reason I'm like even sometimes it itches more. It's weird. That's interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so the community one is that we're gonna partner up. We're not gonna be shy, and we're gonna start out with gentle touch, right? Gentle. Everybody say gentle.
Gentle.
But loving intention. We're gonna start at the neck and the sacrum. So I'm gonna demo if on somebody. Does somebody want to demo really quick? Okay. And so then I'm gonna have you be right here, and what you're gonna do is kind of like this. Something like that, and then I'm gonna work down the neck and we'll demo it really. And so what you're gonna do, if you can't do your thumbs, you can do here. And you're gonna start at the neck. And you're gonna say, is that pressure okay? Do I need to go lighter?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, and can you tell that you need water instantly? I could tell that too. So she had a little bit of heat come out of the neck when I started there and a little bit out of her tailbone. So what we're doing is we're working all those reflex points and we're telling the brain to go ahead and flush all the nodes. And I could feel it happening right away. But we did the other one too. We warmed up some things. So that might have been why. So that's what we'll pair up with. And I'm happy to come around and demo a little bit. Just make sure you drink water.
I'll be a partner.
Okay.
Do we have enough for everybody?
So we have 2 and then I partnered up, I guess, with you basically. So maybe we have enough.
Oh, yes.
Then we have enough, unless you want to partner up. Okay, so do you guys mind being partners? And then you have to kind of be up against a wall, and we're gonna not be shy, but we're gonna be gentle and loving.
You wanna go first?
And so we have a wall over here or a wall over there. Okay, I'll demo it again.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm in my work clothes too.
So wait, whoever wants to go first is gonna be like this. And you're just gonna be ready to have some pressure.
Fine.
Uh-huh.
You wanna go
Neck,
against this
we're gonna
wall?
move neck down.
Okay, so I'm gonna do
Just
neck
like,
and then I'm
just like
gonna
this
go.
demo right here. This drawing, I'm sorry. So you're gonna go all the way down. You can go a little bit out of the floater rib.
Are you using your thumbs?
You can, or fingers. I don't
Will
know.
you kind of show me what
Yes.
you're supposed to go?
So go ahead
Yeah.
and start, whoever wants to start first over there. So you're gonna go, you can start up here and do a couple there. But but you're gonna do down like this. Yeah, and so it's less about raising the shoulders.
Where do I put my hands?
Something like that, you're just kind of, so she can push against you without feeling like it's steady. And then you wanna connect everything, so you might be more like this. And if each vertebrae, you're kind of going across, and you could lift, I guess, if you need it. Make sure you don't hurt yourself.
No.
And then right here, you would just, if you want to, you can do these points up here. Or you
Gosh,
can
it gives you the, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it.
down here,
Kind of like,
and take every single vertebrae.
just gives you the chills kind of.
Yeah, something like that. If you can get chills, that's the, like a goosebumpy kind of,
Yeah.
that's limb.
Right there.
Yeah,
Oh.
and so you can come out if you wanted to on the shoulder blades, but the most important, I think, is along the spine. And then maybe in a
Because you're
minute,
waking me up.
on two, we'll switch.
Good. This is good for after yard work.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, thank
Do you
you.
know the best time for this?
No.
The absolute best time?
Yeah.
Is if you're arguing and you're not really, somebody's not seeing your point, you should go, let's do a splash really quick.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You show me how to do it, because I can't see what you're saying.
So if you want to, you can come up here and you can do a couple things up here. I have that's the drawing. You could do a couple of things over here if you wanted to. I like to do it too.
You're gonna get chills.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just,
Yes.
and you're just trying to make sure that you're hitting like every vertebrae and you're trying to work them together. So you can do like, you know, lift and do that if you wanted, but I don't need a piston. Do you want me to do light or? All the way down to the sacrum. Yeah, all the way down to the tailbone, as long as that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't wanna hurt you.
I did it.
That's not the pressure either. Now what do I do?
You'll go all the way down to the tailbone, which is down here.
Uh-huh. Okay, it's even lower. You wanna lower?
Yeah.
You let me know.
Do it.
I don't wanna do it wrong.
You can't really do it wrong, because I'm gonna go again.
Are you getting the chills?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But
to do a little bit of.
whatever. Yeah. You will go all the way down.
Yeah, I was gonna get it. Gosh, I feel like crap. That's fun. I feel so much better.
Aren't you glad?
Yes, I was just eating. I was just here for a second.
You want me to do it?
Wait,
Sure, your husband's
Is
here?
that what you said? I did it.
Oh, yeah.
You can, come up here.
I know.
Yeah, and you can put a painter around the.
Are you coming here? Days I don't know, lots of them.
Sometimes I'll.
Okay, they're missing out. They're missing out.
Okay, let me do you
Okay.
rotating.
I am wearing my yard boots.
Did you feel that was
Oh.
a space there?
Yeah.
That was awesome. I don't know if I did it right. I hope I did.
No, yes, I think
it's
it's
like right there. Oh my gosh.
But you could come
I
all
get
the
the
way down.
chills. Oh, even right there.
All the way down to
Oh,
the
my
sacrum.
goodness. I
Wow,
seriously
thank
felt.
you.
Yeah, I'm in here. I
And
felt
then
like I was
if
gonna
you
die.
grab some water, huh?
Yes, I grabbed water for
Perfect.
everybody.
Make sure you grab some
Oh,
water.
you're supposed to do that too? I didn't do that for you.
I have water. Oh,
That's
we
okay.
got water too.
It's okay.
You want me to try one?
So long.
Over
there.
So how did that go? Do you feel a little
I
like
feel good.
little extra pets in your step?
I think that we can't do it to ourselves.
Not on the back, but we did ones on the front. You can do. Yeah.
Oh, you've been pretty far.
Yes.
You didn't want to join us?
Oh.
Doing exercises like that? Not exactly, but I give exercises like I'm doing.
I know,
I can get them. Something like that would be an exercise.
You know my clothes closed.
Okay, so we want to focus our
We're
intention
doing yard work.
Exactly.
along the spine.
Still look fat.
And you could tell immediately you needed water or some type
I love
of, because things were, the brain was saying, let's flush this stuff out. Yeah.
Oh, well, yard work.
So, okay.
Exactly.
So we want to,
Straight back.
here. And we're gonna do a quick demo on somebody.
Ooh.
Who's gonna be
is
the lucky
interested.
person?
And who's interested in having a demo in front of other people?
I'm
And-
interested.
And being okay or
And
being
being
filmed.
okay with like me talking about their body.
Yeah, you can talk
and
about it all you want.
Stuff and stuff like that. And then what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna work on the face, is what we're gonna do. And it'll be about 10 minutes, because we don't have a lot of time. And then I think I always like to kind of pick a client or a person for a demo who's gonna be okay with me talking about them. So, and then also like to hear them talk, what do they kind of have going on in their body? So who's interested? I know what you are. Anybody else interested or just you? You're interested too? So what do you have you ever had lymphatic work?
Never.
Have you ever had?
No.
Okay, what do you do for a living?
I do medication technician.
Okay, so we sit at a desk,
No, walk around a lot.
walk around a lot. And
I
how
just stay at home and I do things. I was supposed to rake the lawn today.
So, okay,
I do things around the house.
okay, so when she talked about how she walked around a lot, I could tell that she's very fatigued. And then,
Me too.
yeah, this is different, like you maybe, and I'm just, this is not your baseline assessment, right? I really need to move energy through your body, so allow me to get something maybe not quite right. But it feels like a little bit of skin that's loose. And sometimes that, it feels like when you're talking, it feels a little bit like maybe we don't eat a lot of foods.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, can you tell me again what you said? I almost lost, because I was thinking about what was happening in her body. So you said you work at home, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I just been dealing with removing people's, two friends passed away this summer. So I've been clearing out their spaces in a home in August, and then in September now it's a storage unit. So I'm doing a lot of busy work and trying to remove things.
Yeah, so I feel a lot happening in your intestines. And when you're talking about it, do you, if you don't mind me asking, do you get constipated?
It's my medication.
Okay,
I'm on medications.
okay, and so
But
there's
I've been
no,
really good at
there's no
eating.
right and wrong, I'm just trying to pick a good demo body, right? Someone that I can do 10 minutes with, and it's gonna be better for them when they're done. They don't need the hour, do you know what I mean? So, so I hope that's okay, and I appreciate you guys commenting, so I could do what I feel like I'm good at, which is assessing. So what I'm gonna do, and we don't have any, it's Christine, right?
Christina.
Christina. And so you don't have any electrical things in your body? No pacemaker or a diabetic pump?
No.
Have you ever had any blood clots?
No.
Okay, you're not pregnant
No.
or lactating?
No.
And then we've never had a seizure,
No.
at least in the last 3 months or ever?
Yeah, no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and so those are just that short list of contraindications to do this type of therapy. So I'm gonna go over it maybe really quick, and we'll work on you here in a second, okay? So this type of lymphatic work that I'm about to do.
You got it?
I think I do, okay. Is that it's non-invasive, so this is really key, actually. People will come to me, guys will come to me with prostate issues, or like I have a client right now that has pancreatic cancer. It was undetected until we started working together. She's stage 2. Now she can figure out what to do, right? That's usually stage 4 when they find that out, because it's so tucked up, right? Really high. So it's very non-invasive to be able to work very deep in the body. It's hydrostatic, which basically just is a fancy word for low current, meaning that it's natural energy. So if we were to go out into the forest and like walk into the forest, anybody can do that, right? Anybody can do that, even wheelchaired through it, right? They can go there and feel a benefit. So that's this type of low frequency, really gets into the cell and helps the body. It's a alkalining, so it's negative charge. So when we sit in front of a computer or we hold our phone, right? Or like I had my key fob and no pockets, so I put it in my second pocket, which is my bra. You know, it's all those EMFs, right? Not so good. So when we do that, those are positive charges. So I'm not a chemist, but I do understand how the energy works, and it's basically an extra electron that's orbiting around the atom. And so when we add in this lymphatic work, it gets really excited and it jumps out of that orbit and then it has to exit the body. So we basically are negatively charging the body or alkalining the body. It goes 6 to 8 inches deeper. It helps support proper fluid balance. Remember I talked about the lymphedema client. You don't have to have lymphedema to benefit from fluid balance. Remember we talked about emotions and how traumas can happen and how things are just hard to process or filter all at once when something's happening, right? It boosts the immune system through the volume. We're going to move lymph 12 times faster than manual. And then we're going to move dehydrated tissue out or any stagnant tissue out. We're going to move trapped blood proteins. So this is where you start to get to like, how does lymph work? Well, it does actually is affected by the blood supply and these proteins. It's a transportation system. So it does inhibit development of foreign bodies, right? So we have dust that maybe we're taking it in and it doesn't belong. It'll actually help with that to get that out of the body and inhibit that from doing anything in the body. It delivers a high variable frequency pattern. And what this will do is this will help with fungi, bacteria. So I see clients actually get rid of parasites and things like that just from having sessions with me. It does minimize mimicking hormones. So we talk about BPA or thyroid issues. Like we've got those things that we're clearing out that the body can identify when we actually clean up the system in this way. It does help, and it's through the proton light. So again, that's what gets into like chemistry. But it does stimulate the kidneys for waste and removal. So we do want to hydrate, right? Just like we could immediately feel that when we were moving the brain, telling the brain that we were moving lymph. Even though we weren't moving lymph, we were just stimulating it through the brain. It does balance the energy fields. And so basically it repels molecules or bonds to create releases of fluids into the local area. So I always think of like magnets that are kind of repelling, right? And so we actually like flip those charges and it will actually tell them to disperse. And then what happens really beautifully in the work I do is it'll disperse it. But if we have an ongoing belief or a thought pattern that is confusion, or there could be so many things, it'll actually recongest while I'm working on them. And I'll actually have an idea of what they're thinking about. So it's kind of interesting. Happy lymphs, right, is what it's going to do. So let's do our little demo if you're ready. Okay, and then there's my website if you want to check out our facial focus. What I'm going to do, are you okay to be on your back?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to be head down here on your back.
Oh, okay.
Yep, on your back, face up. And then you'll remove your hair thing. I could put that back on the table. Oh, sure. And then I just need to get access to the collarbone there.
Sure.
It's kind of cool, you guys know why, right? Why do I need to get access to the collarbone? Because we were stimulating it earlier, right?
Yeah.
Part of the root system. It's kind of cool. All right. Untangle this a little bit. So it does feel very relaxing in about 30 seconds. It's like walking through that forest or looking at that waterfall, that negative ion. It is glass, so it's going to be cold to start with, but it will warm up. And then it feels like we're a little watery. Are you okay? Okay. Okay. And so I'm going to be pulling this up just a little bit to have a better space. Are you okay with that? So it feels like you stand a lot on this leg. Is that what you do?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you walking. Do you keep track of your steps?
No.
Okay. So she just had increased blood flow to her eyes. So these would be things I wouldn't normally, I'm doing in a demo, but I wouldn't normally say those until I see it happen several times. And then I would ask her, you know, are we looking at a blue screen? Because I can still see it happening. Do we look at a blue screen a lot? Are we using our eyes a lot? Are we reading? What do we do for our job? Because I can see the blood is draining out of the eye and new blood's coming in. So we're helping to regenerate that. Now, there are 3 meridian lines that run through the eyes, so I don't know which one we're clearing that's affecting it until I work more of her body or do a second session, if that makes any sense, right? But I can still see it happening. Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like there's, like, can you feel how the eyes are fluttering?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But you don't feel like you need to flutter your eyes yourself, you can just kind of feel them moving. Yeah. So it's up to you. If you want to, you can close your eyes. I would normally encourage clients to close their eyes so they go inside their body a little more. But what happens is that then we clear even more going on, and sometimes it can feel unsafe. So clients will naturally sense that and they'll open their eyes. So I don't tell them to close their eyes, right? I just say, if it feels comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. So if you can kind of tell when you close your eyes, you got a lot more relaxed, right? And usually when I do demos, it's been a little while since I've done a demo, is that we want to send positive energy, right? Like everybody's looking at her. She knows we're all looking at her. Everybody online is looking at her, right? So that is something that she can affect her immune system, right? So when she closed her eyes, she just went more inside her body, and that feels a little better. But you can open your eyes at any time. So I'm gonna have you turn your head to the right. Did we do gymnastics ever?
Right, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, it feels like it. How long did you do that for?
Not very long.
Okay. Yeah, so remember when I'm feeling those memories, those are memories that are coming out of her tissues into the lymphatic fluid, and I'm able to see that happening. And so sometimes I will ask clients, are you doing okay? Because I actually feel like she's getting just a little bit dizzy. Are you getting a little dizzy? Are you doing okay?
I'm okay.
You can kind of feel a little dizzy though, right?
Yeah, a little bit,
It's
yes.
just a little bit. It feels like she's doing some backflips or something, and that usually means that they've done gymnastics. And it just went up down a lot. Did you feel that? How a lot of it went away after I said that? So our bodies respond to that. It's telling us that that's fine. It's old stuff. We're just creating more space in there, and we're getting rid of it. And it is getting better. It does feel like you fell and you like landed on the back of your head or something. Something happened. I'm not sure what it is. Yeah. But so I'm gonna have you turn to the left. So I actually think, I don't know if you can cooperate this, so you don't have to if you don't want to, but I can feel her little emotion. So a little sadness coming up. So sometimes when I feel that again, I would just check in with the client. Hey, are you doing okay? Oh, okay. They're fine. You feel relaxed. Okay, great. I'm not going to tell her in the session that she's having sadness if she's not aware of it. But if it keeps happening, I'm going to ask her, why are we really sad, or what's going on? You know, what are you aware of? Because there are many emotions that we can have that are leaving the body that just aren't who she is right now, and it's not important right now.
So how are you picking up this stuff? How are you picking up?
Yeah, I'll explain maybe at the end if that's okay. Yeah.
All right.
But so just now, her crown chakra opened up, so she might be aware of that her head has more like space is how it might show up.
Yes, that is actually.
And so we have suture lines, and they just kind of opened, and then I could feel heat coming out. So these are all really good things that are happening in the body. It's just taking that energy, and it's all positive energy, and it's just creating space, and it is one whole body water system. So when we think about a clogged sink, right, that doesn't, and the water doesn't move very good in a sink that's clogged, our collarbones represent that area where the piping is, for that analogy. And the water in the body doesn't move so good when these major drains are clogged. So we're unclogging it. And if you've truly ever unclogged a sink, you know that it can congest, right? It can, yeah. And so that's partly what we're feeling. But she just had her pelvic nodes open up. So I know that she's getting more and more comfortable on the table, because that movement always feels really good. So I'm gonna have you come to center, and I'll have you bring your chin up. Are you doing okay?
Yep.
Okay, I'll have you bring your chin up to comfort. Yeah, boy, that feels really good. Can you feel how that feels good to bring your head back? Yeah, I swear she did almost like a backflip or something. That you used to do, or I'm not sure. Do you like leaning onto your back like that, back, way back? Okay, so I'm gonna have you come back down. I'm gonna have you go to the right. We're gonna go just for another minute or so to the right. Now, that's really common. So that also tells me that she's very relaxed because people will flip it. So I say go to the right and she goes to the left. That means her brain has really let go and relax. Super common. So no worries, you're totally fine. So we're gonna go for, again, just a couple more minutes and open up a couple more areas. Are you aware of heat coming off of your body?
No,
Okay.
I feel stuff coming off and releasing, but I can't distinguish if it's heat.
Yeah, no worries. So she just has a lot of energy coming off of the abdomen. So I would check in like I did, and I hope it's okay to comment on that.
Well, yeah, I do the abdomen's down here, correct, or?
Yeah,
So I have some health history with that area, so
yeah.
I do have,
I'll be turned to the left. Doing okay?
yeah.
I'll have you turn to the left.
Oh.
So we're getting a little congested in the nasal area, right? Just
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah. Do you feel like you can tell us if you have any emotion at all right now, or if you know what emotion you're having? It's okay if you aren't aware of it.
Yes, it's trauma with the abdomen.
Yeah.
Part area uterus, but it's not cancer, but it is. I've been checked every year for irregular,
Okay.
but it's not,
Yeah. So I just feel a little sadness again, like I said. So, so that's related to the nose a little bit, but it actually feels, I would ask more questions about, and I'm not gonna do this in front of the camera, but I would ask more questions about, how her pancreas is, and does she like sweets? And just kind of see where that conversation goes, because I can feel it's the pancreas involved. And I might go more into, if she's like, yeah, that's what I have going on. I might ask her if she tells me that she's eating a lot of sweets, I might say, well, what kind of sweetness in life are we going for? Because we want sweets. So what are we, what's, is there something that's happening behind that? I would just kind of ask a couple more questions based on her comfortability in answering them. Because at the same time that these things are happening, she's relaxing on the table, like even though we're talking. And sometimes it's better to just like allow things to happen. So I definitely do that in sessions. It's just the demo, we're trying to demo a little bit what I might say or see or know, but I just feel her getting heavier and heavier and heavier on the table, which means very, very relaxed. So it's better to just like let that pendulum swing, you know what I mean? And some of these things are just gonna go away, yeah, and won't matter. But you had a small headache during part of that, during part of this session. Does it feel like it's getting better?
no, actually, I just noticed it when you said it, yeah.
When I said that you had a headache?
Yeah, I was like, oh, I kind of do.
So
On this side.
in a demo, in a session series, right, when we're evaluating and assessing, I would stop, which is what I'm gonna do really quick. And I'm gonna do a demo, and then we're gonna wrap things up here for this client demo. Is that I would have her do, because this is gonna be really important for her, is to do a crisscross over the eyes. So remember we talked about how it can relate to the breast. It can relate to the ovaries. It feels ovary related, but I don't know until I kind of get there and I work on her. All this feels soothing, even though it sounds weird. Is all that soothing, even though it sounds weird?
Oh, yeah, it is. No, I feel nice.
It's oddly soothing. I usually ask clients, is that oddly soothing? Because those bones, those suture lines are trying to move, and because they've been stuck for a while. And that's going to be a really good practice for her to do at night to help that process. But it feels related to the ovaries. So I would again ask her more questions about that.
But I think also the pancreas, because I have been having these fears of like recently really heavy, like of diabetes, like really, really heavily. Yeah. And I feel like my blood sugar is actually raised recently, but I'm not sure.
And I just see all of that in the pancreas today in this session while I'm working on her. I'm having your chin up. And so it was easier to move your chin up, it looks like this time. It was a little easier. I still see like a lot happening with her eyes, so I would ask her again if she gets dizzy, does she feel okay? You know, I would just check in and make sure that that's all memories that are leaving her body and that that's not happening right now on the table. I'll have you bring your head down. Yep, to neutral. And that. Okay, so I'm just gonna come under again. And so, any questions right away? While I just do a couple more things on her to leave her in a good place? About a demo or about lymph or about something specific for you? No? Okay, so I'm gonna go in and answer the question about how I can kind of see a little bit happening and how I feel like I've developed that. It's not a skill I don't think I had all along. While she takes a few minutes to sit up and get up and when you're ready. And also thank her for loving the demo. Yeah. And then do you have any comments for you about anything about the experience or about me working on you?
No, I mean, I feel like the last couple of, I mean, you kind of nailed kind of like what I've been going through and like my thoughts, and you touch bases
Yeah,
on some of the things that I'm struggling with, like indirectly,
yeah, so,
without hardly even like knowing me or talking with me. I thought
Right.
you,
so,
That's-
so I don't know if I need to turn this up a little bit. But so as she's walking to the chair and as she was talking, I could start to feel her, if it's okay to comment again about you a little bit really quick. Is it kind of felt like a little bit like she was like this. I don't know if she felt like that, but so light, like she's like, where's the floor? You know what I mean? Because she's just so, yeah, so everything is so different and moving. And so you just want to be careful for the next like 2 minutes, because every 30 seconds that's passing, the brain is like proprioceptively understanding where things are now because they're moved into a different area. And make sure you hydrate. So a couple things, because I had the question earlier, like how am I able, and I get this question a lot eventually. And so it's kind of a long story. I'm going to try to say it really quickly. But when I was in massage school in 2000, and I had done gymnastics, I'd lived out of the country, went to college, did different things. And I got into massage school and I had done sports and things, but I heard people in the class going, oh yeah, these are like rhomboids and these are these muscles. And I didn't really know the names of the muscles. And we were getting ready to work on the back. And I said, hey, and it's like the second week of massage school. And I went to the teacher and I said, hey, I don't understand why and I was kind of annoyed. Like, I don't understand why we're not studying the muscles. And she was like, no, like, we're going to study that next week. Right now, you just want to go over there and be present with the person and like, see what you notice is tight and not worry about. And then I was like, yeah, but everybody else knows all these muscles. And she was like, no, don't. Next week, you're going to be exactly like them. So it's actually a really special thing. You're not bogged down by all that information. You're just going to go over there and pay attention and be there for that person. And so it was the best thing ever because I went over there and even though I totally didn't believe her in a minute, I was like, whatever. And so then I went over and started to work on this person. And then she got to the table and she was like, wow, that is like the best massage I think I've ever had. And she'd had like multiple massages. And that was my first like massage in school, you know. But I remember thinking that was kind of cool. Wow, she really liked it, you know. And so then next week we studied the muscles and I was like, hey, can I trade with you again? You know, because I wanted to work on the same person. And when I started to work on her, I was like, oh, those are the sartorius muscles and like whatever. And I knew all this stuff, right? And I thought that was kind of cool. And then I completely forgot about that. And then we learned the back of the leg. And I remember when I started to work on the back of the leg and we didn't know the muscles yet. And I remember thinking, just be present with this person and enjoy it. And I just remember really like our breathing matched and it was really quite powerful. And I remember in that moment thinking, I don't know any of these muscles. Like, this is really interesting, you know? And I remember being just a little bit sad that I was gonna pretty soon learn all the muscles and I would no longer look at the back of the leg the same. I would see it stripped down into muscles. Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. Then I graduated, I went on to have my own practice. I had a practice out in Puyallup and I did mobile massage and I had a practice in downtown Tacoma. So I had 3 different things. I was running all over trying to learn this thing and I started taking visceral manipulation which is organ manipulation. And I didn't think anything about this teacher thing until it was like, again, 2.5 years later, I had been doing massage. And I went into this visceral class and we learned about the liver. And I knew a lot about the liver and I had worked on the liver. But when I started to work on the liver right before we learned the techniques, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm never gonna look at the abdomen again the same. I'm gonna see it stripped down. So then fast forward a year later, I'm taking craniosacral work, if you're familiar with that, which I had taken in 2000. It was totally like, this is stupid. I can't feel anything. And then 4 years later, I'm taking it again. Oh my gosh, I could feel everything happening. And the brain just popped up into my hands. I could feel exactly where all the nerves were. I could tell that this brain was dehydrated, this one wasn't, super interesting. Then I got into lymphatic work and I started to distinguish between lymphatic vessels and cardiovascular vessels and like how they're different. And there's so many stories I could tell there. But then I went into cancer care and I went into end of life and I started to actually see how people could have different emotions that were blocking them from things that they needed to work on while they were here. And in this transition, before they transitioned. And so I remember I started specializing in cancer and I could see how it was such a benefit to work on all types of people because different bodies teach you different things. So I never specialized and only did cancer care. And I still do that to this day, which is a little bit not as common. But then I went in with cancer care, I went into the immune system and I started to see how this person was allergic to wheat and that there were a lot more B cells in this person. And then these people had more T cells going on and that there was something going on in their bones and the thymus. It just grew right from there. And then I had really special clients, my first 10 years of doing massage, where I very cautiously said, can I say something to you? Because I feel something happening in your body. And they were so sweet and precious to say, sure. And then I remember, never forget, I just got these ones. I'll never forget the first person that I did that with. I'd seen a couple interactive things happening in the body and more and more and more. And I finally asked her, can I ask you a very personal question? And she said, okay, that's fine. And this was her 4th car accident I treated her for. So it was like, we'd worked together a while. And I said, yeah, I can see a hand coming out and like slapping you. Like, can you tell me about that? Or is that what's happening? Oh, I was domestically abused by my spouse for years. And I said, yeah, I can see something in the corner. It's like a dresser. Oh, she goes, that was in this year and this year. And this is what happened. And I was like, wow, that was really cool. And I thought, I need to start talking to clients more, like about little things I see, and then they're gonna tell me the story, and then I'm gonna see more. So I just had very special clients in the very beginning that allowed me to do that, which was very interesting and weird, right? That they trusted me to do that. So, so then it was just a skill that got developed more and more and more. And now I'm into seeing, differences in people's lymphatic systems and able to like access that information over the phone and do remote sessions and things like that. Yeah, it did not happen overnight. Yeah. But I know that when I was in massage school, I actually can think back to so many instances where I could see things that, weren't being told to me. So there was definitely like natural ability of sensing energy or being able to like go, I feel like this person's doing this or they're thinking that, So I think there was some natural ability, and I think everybody has natural ability that they feel a little bit weird to mention something.
Like, I do want to.
And we should.
I just want to know, I'm not paid. But I honestly, I don't share that kind of stuff with everybody about like some of my fears and stuff. And I mean, that was pretty cool, honestly.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I see more happening when you shared just now. So I'll tell you maybe later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Also wanted to share,
okay,
uh,
is that my water? Okay.
Yes, it was on.
oh,
Yes,
yes,
I moved
yes.
it.
That's okay, I just need a sip.
It was before I started hosting, I came to your class at the Federal Waste Store and you picked me to demo
Mhm.
and you were gonna do something completely different. You go, you sensed that my spleen needed to be released.
Mhm.
And it was like, it was like, and it was like a suction cup, and it just, I felt the rush, and I was like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, and I was like, are you okay? It just popped. Did you hear that pop? And you were like, yeah, I heard that pop. And everybody around her, because I usually when I do demos, I actually have you, I forgot I have you guys come up closer, but yeah, it's a story I never get tired of because it was so meaningful.
It was very special.
It
And
was, yeah.
And I have to say, Nicole is phenomenal and, in all the credentials and skills that you have, but also y'all need to try the harmonic egg. It got me, it broke a lot of fear of driving. I was in a really bad car accident and started developing seizures afterwards. And also I got fear of, I let go of the fear of driving. I got to perform my music again. And like, you helped so much.
It
So
was amazing. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah. I know, I don't always ask you to share, so I'm
Yeah, but
always
I-
happy when you do, but
I felt it.
yeah, because you
And-
did 3 sessions, I think it was in the egg, but each time it got better and better.
It did, yeah, and I could feel it, and I had like I think it was the second time I had that out of body experience
Mhm.
where I like hugged my inner child and like took her to safety, like, it was really beautiful.
I know, and it's hard to understand even what you're saying unless you've done the egg.
Yeah.
Because it is such a like, it's a big, huge wooden egg that's kind of like a hollow big guitar, like a little room that you step into, and then we play music. It's just music therapy.
And you're just
right?
in a zero gravity chair and you drift off into like this peaceful tranquility, and it's phenomenal.
It is like a hug. Yeah.
It is like a hug with music and lights.
And people kind of think because you shut the door that it's gonna be scary or whatever, but it's actually the opposite. It's extremely expansive, it's empowering. It just changes it works your aura. But so I added it as a lymphatic tool. So I will do the lymph work and then I'll be like, I think we need to do an egg appointment.
I would
Then-
wonder if like,
Which I know when you first hear an egg, you're like,
you're like,
this is
wow.
kind of weird.
Well, and I'm wondering if like the closing effect of the like comfort, it's like maybe it takes you back into the room.
Yeah.
Whoa. And that's why it's an egg.
Oh, right. Sorry.
It's a big ovary, if you wanna know, that's the geometric, like,
It is. Oh, that's so cool.
to feel emotions. So men come into it and love it as well, but yeah, it's good on helping and processing emotion. Anyways, yeah, thanks for mentioning this. Sorry we went over a little bit, but hopefully that was felt worth it.
How long is this assessment?
So it's 2 appointments, and I like them 24 hours apart. It does explain that pretty good on the website if you forgot something and you're like, oh, your lymph is moving and you kind of forgot what I said. It'll explain a pretty good job on the NicoleWirth.com site. But yeah, you do have to book it with me because I need to like set up the 2 appointments. And so it is $146. You can pay for them individually, which is usually what I do. It's 30 to 40 minutes on the décolleté, collarbones and face. And I didn't calculate it exactly, but maybe 15 minutes or even 20 minutes on her. So, I mean, that's a pretty good demo, 20 minutes, because it's about 30 to 40 to address those major drains. And then we do want to work the whole body, like locally, we want to move the wands over the whole body. But that is again, that analogy of the clogged sink, we want to kind of declog it. It's taken a little while to perfect that to how I'm doing it right now, but yeah, that's basically the goal. Thank you. Yeah, I always tell the story. I had this client come up from California to work with me, and he didn't tell me that he had anything going on with his right hip. Because again, he thinks I'm working up here, and even though I tell people those things, they don't think like, oh yeah, it's a whole water system or whatever. And I was so nervous because I really wanted him to have 2. Like I had 1 shot. He's only here for right now. It's miles away. So I was really nervous, but I did this session and I kept feeling how there was all this pain in there. And I thought, should I work a little bit more? Because I usually will do 30 to 40 minutes as a facial. and then I'll change it into what I call a focus session, and I'll give them a breast drape, or in this case, it was a guide. So then I do the armpits and the inguinal, which are other major drains of the major nodes. And so I debated about going down there, but he was so congested here. I knew that it would be important to just keep working here, and that ultimately that would help whatever was going on. Well, he left, and I didn't tell him that I felt it in the hip. And I was like, darn it, because then it proves that I know what is going on in the body, right? When you can say that and the person corroborates it. But so he called me later, and I called him and I was like, are you doing okay? Like, how are you doing? And he was like, oh, I'm doing really good. In fact, my right hip really bothered me. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? But he was like, my right hip really bothered me, and it's completely gone. And I've done so many different things to try to fix it. You didn't even touch it. And I can't believe how much better it is. And I was like, I'm in sync.
If it's supposed to like maybe also help with like nasal congestion, because my nose actually feels a lot clearer out of both
Definitely.
nostrils.
Yeah, definitely. We're working the
No, like
face.
for real. And I haven't been able to like breathe out of both of my nose nostrils in a while.
Yeah, I've had people like have taste return, and they like haven't had it for a really long time before.
I was just noticing, I was like, oh my gosh,
Really
I breathed out of
amazing.
my nose.
Remember, it's powerful, right?
Yeah.
We just need to open things up, and it's. But, any questions online, or sounds like we're wrapping up? No questions online? Okay. Well, thanks so much for letting me share with you like kind of my passion. It's sort of funny because I kind of just like stumbled into like getting into massage school, and I didn't realize it was going to be like a career, my life's work almost is like, so. Thanks for listening to my passion about it.
Yes, oh, thank you for sharing.